What's up, Wholesale Nation? I'm Undrea King.
And I'm Andy Speed.
And welcome to the show again. Glad to be on, recording again. So excited about that. For those who have never listened to us before, we are a wholesale. We're a wholesale nation. Well, we're a wholesalers helping wholesalers. But for those who don't know what wholesaling is, because we're going to talk, our topic is going to be pretty closely tied to someone that's getting started in wholesaling. But if you don't know what wholesaling is, just real quick, Andy, what is wholesaling?
Process of getting a property under contract and then selling that contract to an end buyer.
Right. So fairly simple concept here. Sometimes we overcomplicate it, and those are the things we're going to be talking about here today. So excited to be back on. But before we get started on our topic today, I just really quickly wanted to go over like what's been going on in our sales team with our sales team during this COVID. But Andy, I know you've been working closely with our sales team.
Yeah, I have. I think the most important piece to talk about is it's great to be back in the office. It was great to hand you a 3-1. It's great to win 3-1 in ping pong. It's not something I get to say often. We're usually pretty even matched.
Right.
It's either your day or my day. But no, it's really good to be back. And some things have changed with sales. I mean, I don't know that sales has changed. The dynamic has changed. The personal responsibility required to achieve the level of success we want has changed. Right. That being, adjusting to working from home. That's the only change that our guys have experienced is they're not in the office every day with us here, specifically you're here a lot more than I am, to be held accountable. And, they've introduced distractions, et cetera. But this is, to answer what you were saying, is that this gives us an opportunity to pull back and refocus a little bit. We've started pushing towards changing the culture of our group to one of, team players and holding each other accountability, maybe a little playful, what would you call it? Playful criticisms and whatnot, constructive at all times. But essentially, we wanted our guys to have the mindset that they're working for somebody else. And when they're not hitting their goals, when they're not pushing themselves to get better, it affects somebody else. Right. So they're not doing their part for the team. And likewise, if you're looking on the disposition side, they're not doing what they could do to sell the property for the highest amount possible. Well, then they're not doing their job, for the salesperson. So it's almost a slap in the face. And
when you say disposition, what is disposition for those who don't know?
Well, they're selling the contract.
Okay, gotcha.
So we have guys that buy the contract, gals that sell the contract. And they need to work together. So a focus on continuous improvement, looking in the mirror, I think it's personal accountability. Right. Has been the emphasis with role playing, something that I enjoy doing. You can always get better. Yeah. And I agree. I think, for the most part, when we hired our team, like we said, our team has only known virtual. They hadn't gone out to see appointments and things like that, but they've always been in the office. And I think that was the biggest transition for us is them, being outside of the office. I think it also, they had to become a little bit of an entrepreneur at that point. There was no one saying, hey, it's time to get on the phones and things like that. They knew they had a certain amount of phone calls that they needed to make on a daily basis. And it was on them to work that around their schedule. We were mindful of the fact that, they had kids at home and people screaming and things like that. But they had to still make the time to make the phone calls. And so I think that was probably the biggest shift for them to kind of take off on their own and make it happen. Yeah, absolutely.
So glad to have them back in the office, just about 100%. So glad for that to be happening now, right? And so, that brings us kind of to our topic for today, right? It kind of goes in line with, the same thing with a salesperson that's, in a wholesale company like ours, like, what makes that person succeed versus the person that doesn't succeed. And I think it's the same thing with business, right? Yep. What is that wholesaler? So we'll start off with that. So now I'll ask you that question. The question is basically, what is that one mindset that a wholesaler has to have in order to succeed versus the person that doesn't succeed? What would you say that is? Okay.
So one word or one mindset shift or mindset attribute, if you will, for me would be relentless pursuit. Okay.
So let's talk about that.
It's kind of the all-encompassing. It does include a lot more than just not giving up.
Right.
You will face adversity. You will face self-doubt. As Ed Milet said, and I love to quote this because it really hit home for me, becoming an entrepreneur is the greatest self-discovery process you'll ever experience.
Right.
And that's absolutely true. You will face certain amounts of adversity or certain areas for growth that are exposed in your own life, whether it's self-doubt, limiting beliefs, whatever it may be. You're going to have to push through that. So the difference between somebody that succeeds and somebody that doesn't is relentless pursuit.
Right. So let's talk about this, break that down. So I'm a new wholesaler. I've been working for the last 6 months, right? We see it on a lot of the podcasts and a lot of the wholesale groups, actually. And they've been marketing. They hadn't got a deal.
Well, that's easy. You know how long you have to market to get your first deal?
So they're at 6 months right now, right?
Do you know how long you know the magic number? You know how long you have to?
What is it?
Until.
Right.
You have to do it until.
Right. So does that fall in? That's your relentless pursuit, right?
Well, if you give up before you hit pay dirt, then you're not going to succeed. But if you can push through, find your why, dig down deep, whatever it takes to overcome the obstacles that are in front of you and achieve the results you want.
So, but how do you keep going if you've been going for 6 months? Let's say you're literally out of money, right? And it's one thing to say it, and relentless. And for everyone that's listening, that's one of our core values in our company is relentless pursuit. But how does a person find a way to succeed when they've done everything that they thought they could on marketing and they're out of money?
Undrea, I know you're teeing me up, and I truly appreciate it. Undrea knows, and he's heard this for years, my most favorite thing on this planet to say whenever you're reaching an obstacle that you can't overcome is to stop and ask yourself, what more can I do to rise above my current circumstances to achieve the results I desire?
Right.
So in your instance, if you've run out of marketing money, you've been furloughed or whatever, like given the current economic status of the country, if you've been furloughed, you're running out of money, you don't know where you're going to eat. What do? You either get your ass to work or you become, a victim to your own mindset.
Right.
Now there are circumstances that are incredibly difficult to overcome. We've seen bankruptcies and all this other complete financial hardship, but the reality is you are where you are, and there's something that you could do, something more you could do to overcome where you are right now.
Right. And so I hear a lot of people kind of say, well, one of the things that is being consistent. So what's the difference between being consistent and relentless pursuit?
Between consistency and relentless pursuit. Relentless pursuit to me is refusing to give up. It's finding a way. It's not, can it be done? It's how can it be done?
Right.
It's having that mindset when you're faced with adversity, because the reality is you lose until you win.
Right.
You fail until you succeed. So if you're running from failure, you're running from success.
Yeah.
And, it's a huge mindset shift with entrepreneurs. Especially if you look at just a business model as simple as wholesaling, the mindset shift to send out marketing goes against anything that most of us learned all our lives.
Right.
It truly is an investment. It's an unknown. It's putting risk out there for some sort of potential return. And that causes a lot of wholesalers to stumble is taking that risk.
Right.
But you and I know in hindsight, it would be how much more can I put in? Because I'm going to get this experience and these mindset shifts and this growth that is a byproduct of taking that leap of faith.
Right.
And exposing yourself to a growth mindset, not necessarily a fixed mindset.
Right. Yeah. And it's good you said that, because we actually had that discussion earlier, and I was just thinking about it, is like, because consistency always comes up, right? But sometimes you can be consistently doing the wrong thing as well, right? And you can also, consistent doesn't mean that you're actually pushing forward. It just means that you're doing the same thing over and over, probably at about the same pace, right?
Well, I wouldn't even discourage that. Even if you're consistently doing the wrong thing, consistently do it.
Right.
You'll learn. How many failed attempts at the light bulb did Edison have before he actually made the light bulb, or how much, like the Formula 409, the cleaner, it's called Formula 409 because it was the 409th attempt before they got it right to what they wanted. If they would have given up at 408, they would have had nothing.
Right.
There's been times where, where we were trying to figure out, we were going through some shifts in our business, and we're like, okay, well, where do we apply for the best bang for our buck? And if we didn't make a decision, it would have, right? Like the first, if you stop marketing, you're guaranteed to lose.
So you would say that consistency would be a component of relentless pursuit at that point.
I think consistency is a factor that's important, and it is a contributor, but I don't know that. I think it's more just a discipline necessarily than a mindset.
Right.
Consistency.
Because I can give you what when I look at relentless pursuit, right? And whether I'm a new person or doesn't matter where you're at in your business, right? We've ran across it time and time again, even in just like transaction coordinating and things like that, where some people may have just, maybe you hit a stump. You had an issue with a title that you could not, like the title company couldn't get it figured out.
Okay.
You couldn't get it figured out. And I think that's where that relentless pursuit starts to activate, and you go above and beyond. You're not going to stop until you get the damn answer, right? Until you get the end result. And I feel like that's the biggest difference between when you shift from doing something consistently to relentless pursuit, meaning that you're going to break the damn wall down in order to get to that end result. And I think that's where a lot of wholesalers are missing when they're trying to get the first deal, right? Is that they haven't tried everything. And the first thing people start asking is, well, let's start back at the beginning. Like, how much marketing did you send? How much this? And they eventually, within a few questions, they find a hole, right?
Massive, massive.
Yeah.
Just gaping hole.
Right.
But for newer wholesalers, I think that the biggest issue is they lose focus on that one deal. Forget about everything else. There's so much noise and there's so much growth that's coming your way. You have no idea.
Right.
If you try to go after that stuff right away, you're just going to get blown away.
Right.
If your background is a bank teller, and there's nothing wrong with a bank teller, but you're going in to create your own wholesaling business, you've got a lot of things to learn, and you're not going to learn them all at once. Let's go ahead and get started. You're going to fail. You and I fail.
Right.
I think the difference between people that succeed and people that fail ultimately is how many times they do.
Right.
And what they do is a result. We all have, you will face adversity in your business. That's the only guarantee. It's what you do that matters.
Right.
So from the consistency, I think I finally see some of what you're talking about. The consistency from increased variability in our processes internally has been a huge plague. We've had a shifting bottleneck over the years, and between staffing changes and whatever else you can throw in, marketing changes, a series of economic shifts, and I mean, whatever it may be, that's all guaranteed to happen. And variability does cause an issue towards success. I think we've done a great job of pushing through that. It's just been like a roller coaster. It would be nice to just consistently do the same kind of marketing, do the same kind of lead intake, same kind of sales process, with the same people.
Yeah. And in a perfect case scenario, then that's the way it would work. But I think that the reason why we're here talking about it is because we've had that relentless pursuit, that we continue to move forward regardless of the obstacles. And I think that that's where a lot of people get stuck at, right? And then I think for me, because we were trying to figure out, relentless pursuit covered a lot, right? I wanted to go talk about what in the beginning, more mindset also, is I feel like one of the things from a mindset shift that a person has to go through is not feeling like you have to be perfect at it and knowing how to do everything before you actually get started.
That's big for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's huge for a lot of people.
I think that's for any business, right? I even for me, before I even got into wholesaling or whatever other businesses that I was thinking about getting in. I mean, how many friends that tell you that they want to get started in XYZ business, right? And they can probably tell you everything about it, but they never got started, right?
Did you have the person that told you, well, don't you know that only 1 in 10 businesses succeeds?
Yeah.
9 out of 10 fail.
Yeah.
And how did you respond to that?
Well, you might want to get started quick so you so you can start beating the law of averages there.
Yeah, my mom told me that. I was like, so you mean I only have to open 10?
Yeah.
To get one successful business?
Yeah.
How quick can I open up 10?
Yeah, and that's what you have to have, and I feel like I think most people give up before they even get started because of that, right? We saw that, we've in our, if you hadn't checked out our Wholesale Nation Facebook group, check it out. But we recently have had questions like that, and questions, those what if questions. Like I give you an example, and it's a great question. Is what if I think it was what if one of the sellers, what was the question? What if one of the sellers find out? Oh, I know what it was. When you get ready to close and the name on the HUD is the name of the buyer, right? And there was a lot of good responses to it. But I think, and my response was that at the end result that the seller's usually just asking a question, but someone else gave a good response is those, that's all in your head, right? Mm-hmm. It's like they've had hundreds of transactions. That's just one of the things that you don't want to get concerned with those things and get your mind wrapped around those, because those are your one ifs, those are your one-offs, and those are those what ifs that stop you from getting started in whatever you're doing. So this person maybe hadn't even sent out any marketing, but they're asking questions way down the road, right? And I think that's what stops a lot of people. When I first got started in this business, I didn't know a lot. I knew a framework of how this worked, but I didn't know what contract I needed in order to make it happen. I didn't know what title companies I needed to go to, right? But I knew that the first thing I needed to do was send marketing, right? And I needed to talk to people. That was like the first. So I was like, okay, first thing, send marketing, talk to people, right? And then my thing was, well, what if I get a contract, right? I'll figure it out from there, right? And that's exactly what I did. I figured it out, from there, how to do the rest of it and how to find the actual things to do, because you won't get that. A lot of people think that you're going to get that from, you start going through all the YouTube and listening to everybody and getting mentors and things like that. And a lot of times you won't get the specific answers of the little things inside of the business, right? And so that holds you back, right? And what I found out later on is that you will learn that along the way, right? And that's going to be throughout your wholesale business career. That's going to be in every aspect of it. You're going to learn things in dispositions today that you didn't know yesterday. We're constantly learning things in transaction coordinating, right? That we didn't know, 2 days ago, right? That will make things a lot easier now. But if I had waited to learn all this information, would have never got started.
So in summary, what I'm hearing is don't be afraid to fail.
There he is. There it is.
Don't wait on perfection. You can't possibly overcome every scenario. And by the way, I do know what question you're talking about. It was Naeem that asked it. He's been following around. He's probably listening to this. Naeem, What's up, bud?
Right. And thanks for the question.
Yeah, no, I thought your answer was perfect. I thought there was a lot of answers that popped up that were good answers that would work. What I liked about yours is you didn't have to lie.
Right.
The scenario was, of course, the seller's asking why it's not your name on the title commitment. Why is it somebody else's name or on the settlement statement, whatever document they saw, the buyer's name. And your response was, I've reviewed the HUD, and which was the case in asking the question. I've reviewed the settlement state and everything's correct.
Right.
That's it.
That's all you need.
You didn't have to lie about, no, that's my partner. I'm buying it under a different LLC. You said, no, I've just reviewed it and it's correct. And that's all they care. That's all they really care about.
Yeah. They were just looking out for you. Actually, they were making sure that the contract was in the right.
What the heck's going on? We got a different buyer. That's not you, Andre.
Right.
What company is this? Oh, I've reviewed it. It's correct.
Yeah. That's all you really needed. Right. But it's those type of questions that are in people's heads that will cause a person, like you said, fear sets in. It's like, well, I'm going to look silly. I'm going to do something wrong. I'm going to fail, and I'm not going to get started.
Yeah, but you probably made $400,000 in this business before that question came up for the first time.
Yeah.
I've only answered that question once.
Yeah.
And I don't remember how I answered it.
Yeah. And then it maybe came up once, and like I said, I think I answered it just like that. But the other times that it may have came up, it was done
like the title company either answered or whatever. I can't remember. It wasn't that big of a deal. But that's in any business that you're getting ready to start, anything like that. The whole thing is you don't have to know every stage of it. You don't have to be perfect, right? Be ready to fail, right? Because if you're an entrepreneur, and it's not that you are going to fail, right? It's going to be, what do you do once you fail?
Yep.
It's going to be really the biggest thing, right? It's how fast do you get back up and you learn. Hopefully you're not just completely, fool me once, fool me twice, fool me 3 times, fool me 4 times, right? Hopefully you're not that person.
Speaking of an opportunity to learn, what is something you learned? You've had 3 months at home without driving to the office. What's something you've learned?
Just what I've done on my own.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you brought that up. So for the last 3 months, I've actually been working on myself and systems, right? So of course, reading a lot more in business books and things like that.
How many books have you read since COVID?
Since COVID, I'm on, I think, book number 8 or 10.
Nice.
Somewhere around there.
Good for you.
And for the last one, the one I'm finishing up right now is Fix This Next, which is a good one. Same author as the Pumpkin Plan and Profit First, which is a really good book, right? And it reminds us of, the hierarchy of how you look at your business and what you need to fix first. And the foundational level being you need to make sure you fix everything in sales, fix everything in profit, and then order, meaning the people. Do you have the right people? Then it's impact, and then it's legacy, right? Sometimes we get all that out of order and you don't have a strong foundation, right? You start doing legacy things, right? And you don't have the foundation, right? So it's really eye-opener, even, for me on, some of the things that we do, right? And some of the things that we need to shore up. So I think that, that's been a big one. I've worked out more, in this last, during COVID. Because I understood that staying in that can have an impact mentally also and physically. So
Quarantine 15 right here, baby. Quarantine 15.
So getting outside, working out, I've shedded, I think 15, 16 pounds during that time. And then the other thing is, a good friend of ours, he's always talked about, Corey's always talked about meditating. Right. And
I started meditating.
Yeah. So I make it a point. It's one of my things is to meditate. It's really to work on something spiritually every single day, and to work on my soul. And so every single day, minimum of 10 minutes, and then got to be like hours at a time. Right. Even the 10 minutes, when I first started, was a task to get your mind to kind of keep coming back to the center. And because I'm just, I can imagine you, right? Your brain's all over the place. But my brain's, trying to get it together. And I think that's made that's been a major impact on me over this time.
I've always wanted to, but I never have pulled the trigger on it. And then I started doing it consistently, 10, 15 minutes a day. And there were some days where it was spending 10, 15 minutes just to get to the point of starting. There was one day where I was laying down, and probably took me 2 hours to really just get to where I got a good 10, 15 minutes of just focusing on my breathing, not thinking about anything else.
Right.
So that's good. I took a lot of time for reflection and whatnot because, I live alone. So it was, I'm seeing chat messages on our WhatsApp groups and whatnot that are, people going crazy. And I'm like, man, this is a time for reflection. This is a time to really take some things in your life to the next level and fix some things. And so I started a dopamine detox and started cutting out social media and TV.
Right.
Ended up picking up a YouTube habit. But at least it's more productive than TV.
Right.
Started reading more. Weirdest thing I learned was how to moonwalk.
Okay. So that's a skill. So that's a lot different.
I learned how to moonwalk.
Yeah, you got a new skill. Nice.
I was moonwalking through the grocery store with my daughter last Friday, and she was so embarrassed.
That is funny. So we're gonna have to get that on video for everyone so we can see that. We will get that on video.
I'll send you a video. I got some videos of it.
I will get it recorded, and we will have it on Instagram for everyone to see.
Little fun thing to do with my daughter. She was trying to learn, so I decided to learn with her.
Right.
Help her. So never thought I would do that.
Yeah, well, that's fun.
But
yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people picking up different skills and things like that. So yeah, it's good that people are working on themselves.
If we would have gone full time with it, we could have learned Spanish.
Right.
Okay.
That would have been great.
Well, guys, anything else that we have to add there? I think that pretty much wraps it.
No. I mean, it is the greatest self-discovery process you'll ever experience. So jump in, get ready. It's a roller coaster. Strap in.
All right. And that's it, guys. Well, again, if you want to check us out at our group, go to Wholesale Nation Group. Outside of that, we want to thank everyone for listening. Y'all come back now. You hear?